Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda YouTube podcast show, once again powered by businessabc.net, citiesabc.com, sportsabc.org, and wisdomia.ai. We continue profiling global achievers, global performers, and as well the ones that are making a roadmap and as well putting their hands on the action of trying to make a better world when it comes to business and technology, and as well how we can actually look in the amazing challenges and opportunities that we're facing when it comes to the developments of technologies like artificial intelligence and blockchain and Web3. We are in a very, I would say, crowded pace of technology and innovation, but as well a lot of disruption happening. And I think this is probably one of the biggest challenges we're facing, but there's a lot of great opportunities. So I will go and welcome directly our special guest for today. I welcome Harrison Seletsky, which is the Director of Business Development at Space ID, a cutting-edge multi-chain Web3 domain and identity platform. Space ID is a service that allows users to register and use domain names across all EVM chains. And with the Space ID Web3 domain snap, users can transfer assets using domain names. So there's a lot of things we're going to be touching, from the Space ID integration with Metamask and a lot of different things. And about Harrison, is a personality that brings financial acumen and the roles in organizations and startups like Emergent Star Capital, a firm focused on cryptocurrency and blockchain use investments, and Prager Metis CPAs, LLC. Harrison is a graduate at Penn State University with a bachelor degree in accounting and a minor in entrepreneurship. So I'm quite excited to touch all the different things about Space ID and as well the background of Harrison. And welcome to our series, Harrison.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dinis. Happy to be here and happy to dive in.
So what you guys are doing is quite exciting. And before we deep dive into this, so bring us a bit about background of yours and your career and any story about your personal life that made you come to Space ID.
Yeah, for sure. So I first discovered crypto through Ethereum, introduced to it by some friends in late 2016. Thought it was interesting, tried to understand the differences between Ethereum and Bitcoin and other traditional financial, intermediary applications like Venmo or PayPal. Then once you start learning more about decentralization, open permissionless finance, you start asking a lot of deep questions like, what is money? What is value? Why does the US dollar have value compared to other currencies? How does gold come into play? And you start asking a lot of questions about the monetary and financial system that may not have even been brought to your attention before. So once I really learned about these decentralized applications, end user ownership, permissionless finance, I was really just attracted to it. I've always been open-minded in that sense. I think it's important for users to have control over their privacy, over their data, and in this case, over their assets, and kind of fell down the rabbit hole. So my background is in finance and accounting. After I graduated from Penn State, I worked at a boutique hedge fund called Emerging Star Capital. We were focused on fundamental analysis in the crypto space, with, the 2017 bull run being kind of a big, marker for us there. I do enjoy the financial side, but I also really enjoy the user-facing side, the business side, interacting with other people and kind of growing outside of just the monetary analysis. So from there, I kind of expanded into marketing, into business development, doing content writing, doing analysis of my own, working with some other crypto-based news outlets like Being Crypto, worked with some private clients as well on their marketing and business development strategy. And before Space ID, I was working at a multi-chain NFT marketplace called NFTrade, where I was leading growth and strategy, especially on the non-Ethereum front. So NFTs in alternative ecosystems. And from there, as the NFT market kind of matured, was introduced to Space ID from some peers in my network. They were looking to expand their business development side. And as a core infrastructure of many different blockchains, being that identity infrastructure and that identity layer, it was a really interesting and great opportunity for me to kind of expand outside of just art-based NFTs into more utility-based NFTs, which is what these domain names are in the current phase. So we can get into that a little bit more, but yeah, came on as on the business development team, and now I'm leading the business development team at Space ID.
No, it's a fantastic, and you touch a lot of things that are actually probably disrupting the way you do business, the way we do digital trajectory and our user experiences. So part of your vision is that is a future where blockchain, Web3, and I would say AI technology democratize access to digital ID, economical opportunities, and innovation. So taking out a bit of all the technical jargon, and of course my audience is quite digital savvy, but not everyone understands all the layers. So first of all, let's see what is Space ID, and you touch partly, but a bit what is the company, what it does, and as well how you build this ID that you touch, and the user experience we can have when it comes to that.
Yeah, sure. So at the highest level, Space ID is an identity platform. We're a multi-chain domain name platform and aggregator. So we launch and aggregate top-level domains in the cryptocurrency space. What that means in simple terms is essentially we build human-readable wallet addresses that provide a username experience in the crypto market. So for all of our crypto users out there that have their OX wallet address, right now it's 40 random letters and numbers, OX12ABC, that is your identifier. Through a decentralized identity, something like Dinis.eth or Harrison.bnb, we provide a human readable wallet address alternative that you can use in the same way as your OX wallet address. So essentially, it just makes it easier for users to understand who's on the other side of the transaction, how they're interacting with, whether you're chatting between users on chain, whether you're tracking transactions on a block explorer, if you're in a game or a SocialFi application, it provides that username experience that everybody's kind of familiar with in a Web2 space. So we're really just trying to make it easier for those interactions to take place on chain and kind of abstract away some of those technical complexities that we currently see in the market.
Oh, fantastic. And so the ID is a big thing and a big part of the internet. So like you said, there's the levels of ID for pure digital presence. There's the levels of ID for domains in Web3, like what you guys are doing. And there's, of course, the levels of our multi-layers of both business and our own personal health data, business data, and so forth. So can you explain, especially the integration, especially the Web3 domain is something that is becoming more advanced, and I think you guys are part of one of the companies that is cutting edge, trying to integrate this. But there's a lot of work to be done to make it more accessible to masses. So part of the work of Space ID, can you elaborate a bit? What is that work of democratizing a Web3 ID, and then how this Web3 ID can become super powerful for all of us? Because I think that's the biggest elephant in the room, is how we make this accessible to much more people and people get the best out of this.
Yeah. So for us, and I think for a lot of the crypto space, it's really just about lowering that technical barrier to entry, making it easy for Web2 users or just traditional internet users to get the value that is available within these crypto-based applications, the decentralized applications. And domain names are a facet of that. Essentially, like I was saying, it provides this human readable alternative. So it does make it easy for users to interact, almost like sending an email or having a Twitter username. You actually know who's on the other side of the transaction. So this can be anonymous or it can be, fully revealed. I could have Seletsky.bnb or ETH as my domain name. If I'm a treasury or I want to mark certain accounts, if I'm a DAO, I can set domain names for each of my different treasury accounts so that they're easily trackable. And for users, it is relatively straightforward right now to register a domain name, although of course it can be improved. You still do need to understand the basics of crypto, how to buy an NFT, how to do a transaction with a wallet. And we are trying to make that easier. We are working with some wallets as well as some centralized exchanges now, which is really a lot of the initial touch points in the cryptocurrency space to make these domain names readily available. Just like when you sign up for Twitter, you set your username as one of the first aspects of your journey in that application. We're working to do the same thing with domain names because it really just creates a much more smooth and easily accessible interface compared to just the random letters and numbers that make up a wallet address. And this is true on Ethereum, on Solana, on any L1 or L2. We kind of just make it easier to understand your identity in the space, the other people in the space. And that can also be true for AI agents as well, or for businesses. Essentially, it just provides an identifier for any wallet. So whether that wallet is used by a human, whether it's used by a treasury or a company, whether it's used by AI or a robot, it just provides that human readable identifier so that it makes these interactions easier, more traceable, more kind of simpler to understand.
So let's right now, if you could just explain one specific case study user journey. For instance, you mentioned a couple of different case studies, or the Web3 ID will become more and more important. And I think for people listening to us, there's a component for making it super basic and super stupid is like your SEO on the internet when you search for your name, for your company, is becoming more important. And at the moment, if you are lucky or if you are very important, you'll have a Wikipedia page. You might have some kind of domain of yourself and your business. But then there's, okay, how you trademark your name, how you trademark your business name, how you trademark your products. So on this narrative, how does Space ID create the solution? Because of course you touch the ID domain, there's the ID wallet, and then there's the owners. And for instance, one of the things that you guys achieve, you are already touching 1.3 million users, which is quite an impressive number. And as well, you can have a feature name. And you mentioned as well the level of liaison of the wallet and with the crypto. And I think this is quite important because the challenge right now is the crypto is immensely fragmented. And you have all these different tokens, even the president of the United States right now has tokens. How you look at this, but how we can actually use this to empower us and not just for trading and speculation. Of course, trading and speculation, it's a part of the business, but what you guys are doing is one-stop Web3 domain and identity platform.
Yeah. So I think one really easy identifiable use case is a security use case for sending and receiving funds. So when you're using a wallet, let's say, Dinis, I want to send you a payment and you send me a wallet address. So I have to make sure every single letter and number is exactly correct. And if I mess up one letter and I send it to that wrong address, those funds are lost forever. So this kind of allows you to replace that with a human readable alternative with Dinis.eth, Dinis.bnb. And for example, with our integration with Metamask, it works across all of Metamask's supported chains. So you only need one domain on any of your EVM-compatible blockchains to accept these payments or send these payments very easily. So I don't know if you've heard of dust attacks or phishing attacks. These are some common scams in the crypto space where scammers will try and get the user to replace a wrong or incorrect wallet address that may have one or two letters or numbers that are different from the correct address. And with so many, randomized wallets, it can be challenging to double check every single thing and make sure it's exactly correct. So this provides more of that email-like interface, that username interface. And, when you're sending to harrison.bnb, you don't have to double check to make sure it's going to me. You'll know it's going to me because that's my domain name that I own under my own wallet address. So kind of like DeFi is a very big core part of the blockchain ecosystem now as a use case. Many people are looking for new use cases, but DeFi provides a massive amount of unlocked capital and unlocked value to users. And even though we're looking to do more than that, domain names do the same thing where they kind of unlock this basic security mechanism that wasn't previously available. So in terms of safety and security, when you're withdrawing funds from an exchange, when you're sending and receiving funds from a wallet, this just makes it much more easier, much more straightforward, and much safer to do these interactions. So that's a really easy use case to kind of identify right off the bat. And as the blockchain ecosystem grows, as developers continue to build on our protocol and also build on other protocols to come up with more use cases, these on-chain identities, these on-chain usernames will continue to have more value and more utility across ways that we may not even identify now. But yeah, safety and security is kind of that really basic introductory touch point, I would say, to where the value of domain names are.
So the domain name is a massive industry. Of course, players like GoDaddy and others are taking over worldwide. And you guys are creating a new value system that brings the Web 2 and Web 3 together. And the Web 3, of course, touches everything you just mentioned. So I would like, because I think there's a paradox in the blockchain world that I would like to democratize more, because of course, there's a lot of things have been working since the beginning of blockchain technologies, and especially Web 3. So how do you see the present Web 2 and present Web 3 to achieve your vision? Because of course, if I create a domain with you guys, and there's already 1.3 million people on that, that's a massive achievement. But there's a lot of hundreds of millions of people that never heard about this, and they're very confusing how to do this. And to be honest, even sometimes me, that I'm one of the first people writing about blockchain in the world, even me, sometimes I am afraid of making a mistake with my wallet, making a mistake of the way I integrate my account on my assets in crypto and my fiat assets, and how I converge the two things, and how I do this in the right way. Of course, right now we have as well a lot of probably mainstream access to this with what is happening in the US, with probably the first pro crypto president official. But there's still a lot of work of education, user experience, and even pure simplification of things. So how do you see that part? Because I think it's one of the things I want to bring to our audience.
Yeah. I think simplification is going to be the most important aspect for us to focus on as an industry. I think even now there's a very high technical barrier to entry to access these types of decentralized applications, even to buy Bitcoin. I mean, of course, you can buy an ETF, but if you want to have self-custody, first you need to sign up for a centralized exchange. You need to deposit fiat currency. You need to buy the crypto. You need to transfer it to your wallet. You need to make sure the wallet private keys are safe. So there's a long journey, even at the basic level, to get involved. And I think the industry as a whole needs to continue to evolve and kind of lower that entry point. I've actually discussed this before. It's something I refer to as the grandma problem, which is like your grandma, my grandma, they know how to send and receive an email. They may not care how it works. All they want to know is that the email they're sending is going to go through at the end of the day. So I think that's where the crypto space is going to evolve to. There's going to be crypto rails and crypto infrastructure underneath a lot of these applications, but the end user may not necessarily care that it's based on blockchain technology. It's just going to facilitate whatever operation that they want to use. I think one interesting example we can kind of see that emerging with a little bit is the gaming space. The first Web3 game has launched on Xbox and PlayStation. It's called Gunzilla. It's on Avalanche, and all of the NFTs can be traded. All of the in-game items are represented as NFTs, so they can be traded, bought, sold, earned very easily. And for the end user, if they're a regular gamer, they may not actually care that each item is represented as an NFT, but they do care that they can monetize that. They can sell it. They can play the game and earn these items, and the value can actually go back to them. So I think the simplification aspect is going to be really important. We need to make these applications as easily accessible as possible. And at Space ID, what we're trying to do is provide the identity infrastructure to these different applications, one that's kind of unified across the entire space. So right now, every time you sign up for a new social media platform, you have to have a new username. But in the crypto space in Web3, you'll have your username built in. So you can kind of carry it with you from different platforms. So if you're a trader or you're, an NFT artist, you'll be able to be identified as this user across different platforms, not just within that siloed application. So it brings a similar user interface and usability, at least from the username perspective, but it makes it much broader than just what's readily available in the Web2 space. So I think in the future, you're going to see social media applications, maybe something like Twitter, where you'll be able to connect your wallet and display your username as your on-chain identity. They were doing something like that previously with NFTs, where you could use your NFT as your profile picture on Twitter, and you had to connect your wallet and verify you were the owner to show that you actually have this NFT. It's not just, a copy and pasted screenshot. I think identities are going to play a similar role. I mean, you as Dinis, you're going to want to make sure that other people aren't impersonating you maybe on other platforms. And if you own Dinis.eth or Dinis.bnb and it's tied to your wallet, it's very easily verifiable that you are who you say you are, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of which platform you're using. So the use case for these domain names does go beyond just the Web3 space. There is going to be ways to tie that into websites, into social media applications, into the Web2 space, but it kind of does start with that immutable decentralized ownership in crypto, where I can buy this, I can own my Arison.bnb domain name, and only me as the wallet owner and the owner of the private keys that owns this domain name can prove that I am who I say I am. So not only is it kind of this user-facing username, but it's an underlying identity that you can continue to add to. In the future, you'll be able to add off-chain information as well. For example, let's say you do KYC on an exchange. If you can tie that KYC to your on-chain identity, now you can bring that to every single exchange without having to repeat the process, because you've already proved KYC initially, and that can be verified on chain. So this identity kind of allows you to travel with that data and prove who you are across all these different platforms. And I think that's going to make it really easy for users to interact across, an open web interface.
It's a fantastic narrative. Of course, there's a lot of work to take it to the next level. So you recently had an integration with Metamask. That is a game changer in a lot of ways. How you bring your capacities to the Metamask ecosystem. And for people listening to us, I actually interview one of the directors of Metamask here in the series, but it's one of the biggest Web3 platforms and wallets in the internet. So tell us about that and how that experience and that partnership has been working. It was in October that you guys did the integration. So you passed a couple months, a bit of history.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we've been working with a lot of wallets. We work with a lot of top wallets in the space. And now with Metamask, they're our biggest wallet provider that now supports Face ID domains. But it's the same similar use case that I've been identifying in the wallet space. So it's really just about making sending and receiving funds easier and safer for users. Every single wallet now can own these domain names and use them instead of that OX wallet address. So when I'm receiving my salary, I work for a Web3 company, for a crypto company, I can provide my identity, my Space ID identity, in order to receive those funds. So now, my HR doesn't have to hope that I send them the correct address, that I didn't mess up one character. When they put in harrison.bnb or whatever, address I'm receiving my salary to, they know, like an email address, it's going to go exactly to that domain. So what we've done is build that out in MetaMask for about 20 different domain name services, both in-house domain name services like our .bnb domains, our .arb domains, but also for third-party services like ENS, the Ethereum name service, which is still kind of the top player in the space. We brought additional utility to those domain name holders on MetaMask as well. So previously, you could only use your .eth domain on the Ethereum network. But what we've done with MetaMask is expand that to any EVM-compatible chain. So even if you're working with a new chain, if you're on BNB chain, if you're on an L2, you can use any of your different domain names that you own to send and receive those funds, which makes it a lot safer and a lot easier for these users. I think especially for new users, it's going to be really helpful because it just provides that peace of mind. You don't have to worry that you're going to mess up. You don't have to worry that someone may have copy and pasted, a hacker may have copy and pasted a phishing address when you're trying to send your funds. You just know it's going to go exactly where it needs to go. So MetaMask has introduced a few different decentralized identity protocols into their Snaps program. Their MetaMask Snaps is pretty much like their app store, where third parties can submit features that users can download and integrate into their wallet. And on the identity space, since we launched Space ID, is the largest and fastest growing identity snack in their ecosystem. So we have the most users that have downloaded our infrastructure within MetaMask to make their sending and receiving of funds even easier. We work with a lot of other top wallets, BNB wallet, the Binance Web3 wallet, OKX wallet, Token Pocket, Trust Wallet, many others. And for us, again, it's really just about simplicity, security, and giving peace of mind to the end user, at least in a wallet use case. There are many other use cases outside of wallets, but since wallets are such an important initial touch point in the space, these usernames make it really, really easy and more straightforward to do these interactions.
So that's amazing. And I think it's a key element because we need to take this mainstream and at the same time integrate this innovation to mainstream innovation. So part of your career has been working with the areas of DeFi, decentralized finance, and NFTs. So in the overall ecosystem, so the NFTs failed, but the technology didn't fail and is used in a lot of different things. But the wave of NFTs failed on a lot of this part. So going a bit broader, and I want to be cautious of your time as well, how do you see this innovation that is amazing around these things, but how we can actually make this Web3 revolution come forward and the innovation of DeFi and make a good bridge? Because I think the challenge is that we have we're starting to have like two parallel realities going. So you have the financial, conventional industry. Even media get confused, and I'm on this for a long time. We have all the fantastic innovation that you guys like you are doing and your companies around the world, and then we have the conventional people where people are still having so much screw up from their conventional banks and different parts And we cannot have a kind of a clash between the two, because even in the French Revolution, they changed and killed a lot of people, but everything became the same after a while. So how can we make this bridge in a good way? And as well, a bit of your vision, how you see the Web3 really can be, and of course, on the top of what you just said, but as well, DeFi and a bit of your journey on these different layers between ID, DeFi, and Web3.
Yeah. So I see blockchain really as a complement to what's already been built. So I don't think we're going to see every single piece of infrastructure on the Web2 interface replaced by blockchain rails. I think we're going to see blockchain kind of play a role underneath at the infrastructure layer and replace areas that are redundant. For example, in a DeFi space, lending and borrowing right now, if you want to lend and borrow from a bank, first, you have to be accepted. You have to accept the interest rate they want to impose on you. There's different levels until you'll be able to actually receive those funds. But with blockchain, we make it really easy. You can do everything peer-to-peer. It's all permissionless. It's all instantaneous. As long as it's agreed upon by the two parties, it's able to be performed and go forward in that action. So I think crypto is going to play a role where there's, redundancies, where there is value extraction that's unnecessary that can go back to the end user. We're essentially going to be creating ways that kind of redistribute that value back to the user in the maximum capacity, kind of taking the funding or the value that goes back to a central party back to the actual end users of whatever application they're using. Whether it's remittance, whether it's DeFi, trading, lending, borrowing, I think for now, there is still kind of a challenge to understand how this will be easily accessible to the average user. But as these different interfaces, these different protocols come to market that make it easy for you to use these types of applications without having to have all of the crypto prowess, it's going to make it much more accessible. Kind of like how we're seeing AI, take over the world. ChatGPT has hundreds of millions of users within a few years because it's so easily usable. I doubt, many of the listeners here, myself, we don't necessarily know how these large language models work on a technical basis, but we do know that we can use them for what we need. And I think it's going to be the same with blockchain. There's going to be people that want to access the utility that decentralized applications offer without actually having to understand every single technical intricacy of how they operate. So I think that's where we're going to continue to go. I think Polymarket is a great example of a success case we've seen recently, especially during the US election, kind of open sourcing general intelligence and allowing people to put their money where their mouth is to predict what will happen in the future in a fully permissionless way. So if I want to bet or if I want to speculate on who is going to win the presidential election, there's not really a way for me to do that the full poly market without going through some central intermediary, without giving my ID, without giving personal information. And now I can do that in a fully permissionless and accessible way. So I think we're going to continue to move in that direction where Polymarket does run on crypto rails. It does have these, you need stable coins to utilize them to place your predictions and stuff like that. But that's not the main use case. The blockchain just makes that possible, but that's not the selling point. The selling point is this open knowledge base that allows, the world to kind of decide what they think is going to happen. So I think you're going to see more use cases that don't rely on blockchain technology as the main value proposition, but use it to get to the end goal. And I think we'll continue to develop there, especially as we see hopefully better regulatory clarity, better terms in terms of how people view crypto and how companies are able to operate. It should get easier and more simple and bring these opportunities, make them much more available to the masses.
So that is the key narrative. I think let's go. I have a couple of technical questions and I want to start with your token and then I'm going to go on the narrative for that because I completely subscribe with what you're saying, but it's about how we take it forward. So let's start with your token. So tell us a bit about the Space ID token, which is with right now market cap of $370 million at the volume of $37 million per day, which is quite significant. And as well, that is one of the top tokens in this area. So a bit of history about the token and the overall token, you push the token towards your Web3 community and then how you scale with your product in different parts.
Sure. Yeah, so at the core, ID token is the main utility token of the Space AD ecosystem. It's our governance token. So we're fully governed by our community. They decide how we operate. They decide which applications, which features that we want to include in our different aspects. They decide what we do with some of our revenue, as in terms of going to different grants, going to buyback and burn. They really have a lot of control, almost like a shareholder in some ways, where they have voting rights on how the company operates. That's what we try and do in a synthetic way, where we make our token holders the actual stakeholders of our ecosystem, where they have a say in how we function and how we move into the future. So if you want to do a governance proposal about different aspects to include within our SDK, if you want to launch a new domain name service on a new chain, all of this goes through our governance protocol, and our ID token holders are the ones that decide whether or not we move forward with that. A lot of the ID tokens were distributed to our domain name holders. So our stakeholders, our users are the ones that are deciding features of how we move into the future. So we think it's really important that our ecosystem of users has a say in what we're doing. I think we've seen a lot of success with that. I think DAOs in general, decentralized autonomous organizations, have seen a lot of success in kind of taking all the opinions and the ideas of the community and letting them meritocratically decide how to move forward. So if you're a Space ID token holder, you have equal voting share depending on how much ID tokens you have to propose governance, to decide how we move in the future, to decide on a very basic level how we operate. And our community has been very receptive to that. And they're very, I would say they're very active in their participation of their governance and how we as a protocol kind of operate.
No, and congratulations. I know that is not a simple thing to achieve what you guys achieved and actually keep it going, because of course, until recently, crypto has been kind of in a kind of a level of multiple different waves, some of them not very positive, but there's a lot of at least great things moving forward. So looking ahead, what are the next big milestones for Space ID and how you see the platform shaping Web3 and as well this community, because it all starts with the community and how we scale it. You mentioned even in AI, if you see this, it's how you build a product that can shape a community and scale it.
Yeah. So there's a lot we have moving forward in the next 2 years. First and most evidently, we are launching new domain name services with new L1s and L2s. So we're bringing identity infrastructure to their user base, to their block explorer, their wallets, their decentralized applications, so that they can access these same type of identity features on chains that don't already have identity aspects. We're also working on some new products. One new product specifically that we haven't launched yet. It's going to be coming out in Q1 of 2025, but it's kind of to unify the entire wallet and identity space, so that when you're depositing and withdrawing from exchanges, when you're sending and receiving funds on different wallets, you can do that through one single interface. Like you were saying, there's a lot of disconnection between these different ecosystems right now, which kind of creates a barrier. If you're on Ethereum, if you're on Solana, if you're on this exchange or that exchange, they're not always being able to work together seamlessly. And we're working on a product that will tie in everything together so that you only need really one username or one touch point to access all of your different accounts. So that's kind of all I can really say for now without giving too much away. We do plan to roll this out with a few big exchanges in the first quarter, specifically to kind of simplify the depositing process for our users as well as for their users, and then also tie that into the wallet interface. Beyond that, in 2026, there's ICANN, which is the governing body of the World Wide Web, of .com, .org. They are going to be having their new TLD auction, which is auctioning off new suffixes for website names. So for example, you see a lot of websites now that use .xyz or .io that may not have been a popular suffix 5 or 10 years ago, where it's mostly .com, .org, .gov. Now we're going to be able to tie that in with your crypto domain name as well. So I own Harrison.bnb. Right now, I can only use that in a Web3 capacity. But soon, assuming, that we're able to win the .bnb auction, or, for our other domain name services, their corresponding auctions, you'll be able to actually manage your Web2 websites using your domain name as a kind of key to ownership. So there won't be a way to kind of hack this website without owning that underlying identity, that identity NFT. That's essentially the key. So you'll be able to use it as your identity on chain in your Web3 space, but also off chain when you're creating a website for your business, a blog, any of your social accounts. You'll be able to tie that in a lot easier. So that's going to be coming more closer to 2026. For now, what we're looking at in 2025 is kind of this unified identity product, as well as launching new decentralized identities for other chains coming to market.
So, like you said, there's a lot of things happening, and you mentioned amazing amount of things that that are really key for pushing this market forward. So, I want to go through another level as well that you've been touching on. I want to go a bit more. So, for the success of these ecosystems, and especially for Web3 to go to the next level, there is a work to be adopted by developers and creating technology infrastructure between code, users, and communities. I know that you guys offer an SDK and API solution to businesses, and you have as well as a team of developers around this. So describe how this works and how is it going so far, and some of the things that you've been achieving on these directions that you want to share with us.
Yeah, for sure. So our SDK and our APIs are essentially the way for wallets and for Web3 applications to integrate these domain names into their protocol. So we have about 200 integration partners so far. This is wallets like Metamask, OKX Wallet, Binance Web3 Wallet, a lot of block explorers like BSC Scan, like XLR Scan. Essentially, any protocol that wants to introduce identities can use our SDK or our API to bring that feature to their platform and to their users. And this is not only the Space ID brand identities like BNB and ARB, but it's also some of the big identity players in the space like ENS, like the Solana name service, like Lens Protocol. Those are all supported within our SDK. So we want to make it as easy as possible for our integration partners to support as many users as possible, even if it's not necessarily directly from our ecosystem. We know that bringing these features to our partners is going to help grow the pie for everyone. And as we make this identity feature more accessible in other applications, we then see more registrations and more users that want their own domain name because they can now see how it's used with these different applications. So this is always something we're focusing on. How can we integrate identity into top products to make it easier for their users to interact? And we've seen a lot of success so far. Like I said, about 200-ish integrations across a variety of different chains in most of the top protocols in the space.
Yeah, that's excellent and really quite impressive numbers. So one last question, and I think we're passing 1 hour, but I want to go. So the last one is, okay, we touched a lot of the things about the ecosystem of how we can actually bring, and I like that you're very practical and very as well thorough in terms of the solutions that we can use on all this innovation. But one of the biggest challenges is the adoption rate. For instance, if you make a parallel with AI, at the moment it has massive adoption worldwide, which everyone is using, even the ones more skeptical are testing ChatGPT or any other chat bot. But Web3 so far has been failing, even with the tentatives of people like Mark Zuckerberg with Meta bringing Web3 to mainstream. So how can we, I think especially the innovation, there's no discussion. I think it's mainstream that everyone understands. But probably the biggest challenge, and that's my question for you, is do you think the biggest challenge is the UI UX, is the adoption of the parallel capacities of the financial new innovation of the centralized finance used with our day-to-day kind of traditional finance, or is purely UI UX because effectively it's still very difficult to use some of the wallets that we can see here and make it super simple. For instance, if you look at PayPal, adoption is massive. If you look at the adoption of even Wise or Stripe, it's in the billions. So how can we make this super simple? And you mentioned as well the domains, of course. If you go to ICANN, we have all these big platforms that you can buy domains straight away. But the point is that you can buy a domain and sometimes people can steal you the domain. That's where you guys come. But in the general long picture of the Web 3.0, and you've been, of course, very involved on this as a startup personality, but as well in your career, what can be done and how we can see this to work? And for people listening to us, both entrepreneurs, users, and passionate, that actually can look at this in a more positive, but as well practical way.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's 2 points to that. So I think UX UI is an important aspect to make it easier for users to access these types of applications. But I think at the end of the day, the core value proposition that's going to drive more users is utility. Utility in the sense that you're actually not just speculating, you're actually able to get value from these applications. So, for example, you were talking about Wise and PayPal. They charge, a 0.5% fee, a 1% fee on all of their remittance. If you use a stable coin, and you can get that down from, if you're sending $10,000, you might have to spend $50 to $100 on PayPal or Wise in order to go forward that transaction. If you're using stable coins, you can get that down to a few dollars or even a few cents. So right there's a very clear value proposition of what the utility is to using a blockchain-based application compared to these Web 2 applications, which funnel some of the value back to the company instead of the end user. So I think right now, there's a lot of craze around meme coins. You see something like Fartcoin has almost a $1 billion market cap. And that's all fun and games, but it's not going to drive the next billion users into crypto. I think focusing on important value adding features, I think stablecoins is an amazing use case, especially for people in second and third world countries with high inflation rates. It allows them to get access to the US dollar, which is the most stable fiat currency in the world, which previously they wouldn't be able to do. Now if you're in a village in Africa, all you need is a smartphone in order to get this much safer asset. And that's even regardless of Bitcoin and Ethereum as a store of value. You can keep it simple and just hold your value in US dollars, which is something that a lot of people would be much more comfortable in compared to the volatility of Bitcoin or Ethereum. So I think focusing on these really value-driving use cases, getting costs down, making it easier for users to preserve their wealth, especially in high inflation countries, is an amazing use case. I think that's also why we've seen a lot of adoption of cryptocurrencies in countries like Turkey and Nigeria, where they are faced with these inflationary problems and they see stablecoins as a really safe and simple way to kind of bypass all of these previous problems that they've had. So I think, yes, UX and UI, creating an easy user experience is important. But if we can showcase and really drive value to these core utilities that blockchain makes possible, I think we're going to see an explosion of users. And I think now that hopefully the regulatory framework is going to be clearer, it's going to be much more easier for some of these Web 2 companies to also get involved. Now PayPal has their own stable coin, which should make it easier, cheaper, and safer for users to send funds. So we're already seeing these companies that are leaders in the space adopt this technology because there's a value proposition to it that wasn't previously accessible. So I think if we can really focus on the utility and move away from that speculation, we're going to see a lot more interest and a lot more end users.
I completely agree. And I think you touched the key Achilles heel, but as well, we should take this forward, especially as we bring all of this together. So you touched the gaming industry. So one additional question I want to do, and you touch, I love the way you go very directly to the points. So on the gaming industry, so there's 3.5 billion plus people playing games every day. So effectively, there's a lot of games that have already reward systems that have some kind of Web3 component of 3D and so forth. But it's about how you bring all of these things together. So I think with your expertise, how do you see the gaming industry with Web3? Because, of course, the NFT almost went there, but then it became too much speculative and it went in another bubble. But how do you see the innovation that you guys are doing in terms of idea apply for the gamers? Because there's a lot of people spending fortunes. If you look at the global esports markets and all the industry, and of course there's entertainment associated with this. There's a lot of things right now integrated, but it's a bit like fragmented as well. So how do you see that? Because I'm particularly interested in the sense of idea and the work you're doing on these directions.
Yeah. So I think fragmentation is a very important aspect that you just brought up. And I think crypto and blockchain technology makes that fragmentation, we can kind of get rid of it where we can make these ecosystems more interoperable. I think in the gaming industry, we're going to see it evolve where we're still going to see a lot of these indie gaming studios or small gaming studios that can take more risk, adopt this technology first. And then we'll see some of the bigger gaming studios adopt it if they see success. I think where we'll see the most uses in the gaming space is in in-game items represented as NFTs or any tradable asset. If you're a real hardcore gamer, you may be putting hundreds of or thousands of hours of your life into competing, into earning trophies, earning items. And if you get bored one day, or if the company decides, okay, we're moving to the next iteration and you won't be able to use this item, you've just spent all of that time and you won't be able to actually get the end value of it. So if these items are represented as NFTs, they can be easily bought and sold on a secondary market in a permissionless way anywhere across the world. And beyond that, they can also be incorporated into other games. So if you have a really successful game, new gaming studios can make those NFT gaming items interoperable within their game as well. So you'll be able to bring items from different universes and use them, as you continue your gaming journey. Maybe when you're younger, you like one game, you do well in it, you earn items, you earn a reputation, and now you can kind of bring that with you as you continue to other games as well. Same with the gamer tag, by the way, which is where the domain name kind of comes into play. There's a lot of famous esports players already, people that are making tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars as professional gamers. And now they can use these on-chain identities as their Web3 gamer tag to kind of travel across the different gaming universes. So Ninja, for example, is one of the most famous gamers. If he owns ninja.eth and he's playing with that Web3 gamer tag in a Web3 game, if he goes to another game, he can still be ninja.eth and users know, oh, this is the real Ninja. This isn't just some other person that's using Ninja's name. This is him because he has the same on-chain identity that he used on his wallet, connecting him across all of these different gaming ecosystems. So I think it kind of gets rid of a lot of the fragmentation because it makes the interoperability use case much more accessible. I don't know if big game studios will adopt that right away, but I think the ability to buy and sell gaming items is such a massive value proposition for end users. A lot of people refer it as the leisure economy, where you're going to be playing these games anyway if you're a gamer. So why not monetize that if you're interested in as well? You'll be able to actually earn alongside of having fun. And I think that is going to be really, really enticing to people where they're playing these games anyway. And now they're able to actually monetize that if they choose to do so without having to, work a job or do anything else. They're earning all of this value from these items regardless. And now they'll be able to unlock that value through NFTs or through, digital item transactions.
That is the vision that I share, and this is that I think we have to work to put it forward, because in the end of the day, we are in a world that there's a bigger paradox between the creative economy, the gig economy, and as well AI taking over a lot of the things we're doing. So last one, we are in a crazy year with a lot of things happening, 2024 to go to 2025. You guys achieved quite a lot of things, but what is in your user and roadmap for 2025 and as well for the next year, and as well any innovation that you want to share with our team, with our audience?
Yeah, sure. So I would tell the audience to stay tuned for our upcoming unified ID feature that we're getting ready to roll out early next year. That could really be a game changer in how users interact, especially in terms of safety when they're depositing funds, when they're withdrawing funds from exchanges. This is really going to change how users do that and make it much more akin to a traditional Web2 email experience, where we're kind of getting rid of the entire complexity of the blockchain needs when you're sending and receiving these funds. It's really going to be as simple as an email address. So this is something we're working on very heavily. That should be rolling out soon. The ICANN auction is coming in 2026. So that's going to be something we focus on really towards the end of next year. Beyond that, we're going to be continuing to build out our current ecosystems. Some of our biggest are on BNB Chain and Arbitrum, making these usernames available within all of the most popular dApps that we're not already integrated with, just so people can have that better user experience, have a better understanding of how they're interacting. And then launching new blockchain domain name services with these new up-and-coming chains so that we can bring identity infrastructure to even more users.
Fantastic. So thank you so much. A lot of great insights for our audience. And actually, I love the way you put things very simple and very straightforward, but as well, there's a lot of complexity in what you guys are doing. And congratulations for that work, because it's not easy. But I wish you the best success, because I think we all need this kind of Web3 tools to work and be successful. And as well, for people listening to us, we're going to put all the links to both your social media presence and the different iterations of product you're doing. And we'll put as well some images during the video that can be seen and that you can actually link. And please get into this. So Harrison, thank you so much for being here. I wish you all the success and as well for your organization. And let's make Web3 live and kicking. Thank you.